post-U.S. election strategy, prudent policy needed as Trump returns to office. An official at the president's office expressed confidence in South Korea's preparedness for the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. Speaking on condition of anonymity on Tuesday, he assured that regardless of the election results, South Korea is fully prepared to navigate the post-election situation and will address any challenges with principled, tailored strategies. His remarks are encouraging, as corporate leaders and many others in key industries are concerned about a potential policy shift following former U.S. President Donald Trump's victory in the election. He secured the 270 electoral votes necessary to win by sweeping the swing state and the key battleground. In a speech to his supporters at the Palm Beach Convention Center, he declared, "I'll be fighting for you with every breath in my body." The U.S. election is a crucial event that requires full preparedness from South Korea. This year, its importance has intensified due to the far-reaching implication for global geopolitics taking place amid two ongoing devastating wars, one in the Middle East and the other in Europe. The outcome of the U.S. election would have a significant impact on the war in Ukraine, as Trump and Harris have sharply differing position on the conflict. During the campaign, Trump bragged about his close relationship with Russian President Putin and stated that if elected, he would put an end to the war. Meanwhile, Harris said she supports the Biden administration's policy of aiding Ukraine and expressed the desire to see Russia defeated. The war in Ukraine has become a security issue for South Korea after North Korea sent nearly 10,000 troops to fight alongside the Russians. As long as the war in Ukraine continues, so too will the dangerous military cooperation between Russia and North Korea. Depending on the circumstances, the growing ties between these two autocratic nations could evolve into a more serious security threat for South Korea. Meanwhile, if North Korea continues sending troops to support Russia, it is likely to create internal security vulnerabilities. It's important to revisit the comments made by the aforementioned official regarding the potential chain reaction triggered by the war in Europe. The war in Ukraine would have influenced the U.S. election outcome one way or another. Similarly, the U.S. election could have affected the course of the war in Ukraine. Likewise, the war in Ukraine may trigger a chain reaction on the Korean Peninsula, he said. During the campaign, Trump demanded that South Korea pay $10 billion a year to share defense costs with the U.S., nearly 10 times the amount agreed upon earlier this year between the South and the U.S. It remains uncertain whether the South Korea-U.S. defense cost sharing deal finalized in October, will remain intact. Policymakers here must develop customized strategies that foster a mutually beneficial outcome for both countries. Bloomberg reported on Tuesday that if Trump wins, South Korea may significantly increase its imports of oil and gas from the U.S. Trump has pressured South Korea to take steps to address the growing trade imbalance with the U.S. According to the report, South Korean officials have been preparing for months to explore potential outcomes of the U.S. election while working closely with business leaders and think tank experts. Adjusting South Korea's portfolio of emerging imports can be a tactic to meet the U.S. demand. However, such a policy response is not a fundamental solution. If Trump's demand is met, he could ask South Korea for further concession. The key question is to what extent South Korea is willing to make a concession and what quid pro quo it can expect in return. This is the issue that South Korea's policymakers must carefully consider. Most importantly, South Korea must demonstrate to the new U.S. president that it is a reliable and crucial partner with substantial strategic value and should therefore be treated accordingly, rather than having the U.S. driven solely by short-term commercial interest.